Hi, Facebook live streamers. Thank you for being present. You're backstage with Change It Up with Paula Shaw Radio. We are getting ready to record. And by my side here is my first guest, Dr. Deena Stacer. And you want to stay tuned to hear what she has to say because she does something really incredible. She teaches classes helping parents who are going through divorce to deal effectively with their children. And I think we all know somebody who's going through a divorce, or maybe it's even you. And we always worry about how it's going to affect the children. This is the lady that's going to help us know what to do. So please stick around. We're just about to start the show. And remember, you're backstage with us. So this isn't going to be like a polished video production. You're seeing what happens in the studio while we're recording Change It Up with Paula Shaw, which will air this Sunday night at 9 o'clock. So, thank you for being with us, and we are just getting ready to go here. So, I think, since Todd looked like he was at the ready, my sound engineer just left the room, so I'm hoping we're good to go. Let's try it.
There he is.
Are we good? We're good. Okay, I just got the signal. We can go. All right, here we go. Welcome to Change It Up with Paula Shaw Radio. We are delighted to have you here today. We're going to be talking about the long and short of relationships with today's guest, Dr. Deena Stacer, who's an expert on helping parents deal with their children during divorce. And later, Cheri Blair of Cheri Blair Financial Services will be educating us about financial literacy in retirement. So I'm so glad you're with us. Stay tuned because we've got a lot of great things to talk about. We're being brought to you today by Tom Palladino's Scalar Energy Healing. This is an amazing state-of-the-art kind of healing using energy, and you can get a free trial, a 15-day free trial of this healing, which heals pathogens, balances chakras, and adds nutrients to the body. It's a pretty amazing, amazing process. The free trial is available if you go to www.freescalar, spelled SCALAR.net, freescalar.net. All right. So as most of you know, I'm Paula Shaw. I am an author of these two books, Grief, When Will This Pain Ever End? And Chakras, The Magnificent Seven. Chakras, The Magnificent Seven is kind of a primer on how to keep your energy centers in optimal shape so that they can work with you to go through your everyday experiences in life and help you. And then Grief, When Will This Pain Ever End? Is a book for people going through any kind of loss experience. Because let's remember, grief is the normal, natural response to loss, not just death, but any kind of loss. So we want to remember that just because grief is normal and natural doesn't mean we all easily and normally and naturally know how to deal with it. In fact, today we're talking about divorce. Divorce is an absolute huge producer of grief because there's all kinds of loss involved in divorce, a lot of which we're going to be talking about in just a few moments. I'm also a speaker and a life transitions therapist. So in my work, I'm constantly dealing with people who are going through the often unwelcome upheaval of change and loss. And today we're talking about divorce. And one of the things that I always like to tell people about loss is that every loss has three parts. So first of all, there's the actual loss. In this case, we're dealing today with divorce. So there's the loss of that. There's the loss you're going through that you will no longer be married. Another part of the loss that we deal with is the loss of circumstance. So now you are no longer a married person, perhaps living in a certain home, part of a certain social group. All of those circumstances change. So there's part 2 of the loss. And part 3 is the loss of the hopes and dreams that you began this experience with. You know, we all walk down the aisle with our hearts full of hopes and dreams. And oftentimes, giving up the hopes and dreams, that is one of the hardest parts of the loss, because our hopes and dreams are perfect. You know, the marriage might have gotten to the point where there was a lot of fighting and a lot of unhappiness, and so the actual giving up of being married can oftentimes be a relief. But losing those hopes and dreams, that's really tough. And today, Dr. Deena Stacer is going to be talking to us about how do we help our children? Because let's remember, the children are losing all 3 of those things too. They're losing being a family. They're losing the circumstance of living with mom and dad in the same house. And they're losing their hopes and dreams of what their family is supposed to be and was. I know my children went through a divorce with me and my former husband, and I think it was especially hard on my son, who at the time was about 8, because he thought we had a perfect family because we didn't fight a lot in front of the children. And he just loved his family and he loved his life. And all of that went away in one moment when we said the words, we're going to be getting a divorce. So I have a real heart for what Dr. Deena Stacer does, because she helps the parents going through this so they'll know how to help their children in the best ways. So let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Deena, and then we are going to get a chance to talk with her. She is a published international parenting educator and consultant. In 1997, she launched the High Conflict Intervention Co-Parenting and Parallel Parenting Program. That is a mouthful, Dr. D. Yeah. She's worked with over 8,000 conflictual child custody parents and has mediated over 850 divorce and child custody cases in San Diego. She's been a parenting educator since 1983. In other words, this lady knows her stuff. So, Dr. Deena, thank you so much for being with me here this morning.
Thank you, Paula. It's been a pleasure to be knowing you for a long time, and being here is just even better.
Oh, thank you so much. So, you make the statement, divorce impacts everyone.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it's interesting because the other day I talked to someone and they said, I'm still recovering. Well, how long has it been? 25 years.
Wow.
So part of it has to do with people's status, how they felt about themselves, the loss, the economic changes, reinventing who you are. There's so many things that happen when you go through divorce.
Yes.
Besides just the normal stuff, the status, I'm not married anymore, but the economic changes. And what happens to the kids in the process when we've got 2 households sharing money.
Oh, yeah.
And there's less to go around, and somebody might have to go to work that wasn't working before.
Oh, true.
And divorce impact, and it could be a breakup where parents weren't married too, but the children in the relationship really suffer the most because parents have made some decisions. Children are the part of it. And so that impacts them in terms of how they recover. And the big thing that I see is parents in conflict. One or both of the parents are disengaged from the children while they're going through the fight. So now the kids are even more impacted because they're raising themselves. They're trying to figure out what's wrong with them. What have they done? There's just so much to it.
And I always tell people when I'm working with them in my practice, because I'm often dealing with this same kind of situation. Number 1, do not fight in front of the children. And number 2, don't put the children in the middle of the fight. I've heard such heinous stories of moms telling their children all these terrible things about their father, especially if the father cheated or something like that, and fathers doing the reverse.
Right.
what do you do with that?
Well, there are two kinds of co-parents. One set of co-parents can actually work together. They may need a little coaching in the beginning about what's best for the kids and how to tell the kids they're breaking up. But for the most part, they can work together. Why? Because they have in common trust. They trust each other. Both parents believe the other parent's important in the children's life, and both parents believe that the other parent has best interests. So that's a whole different mindset.
Yeah.
The parents that can't, there's always distrust. And that's the common element. If people look at it, parents that can work together trust each other. Parents that can't work together don't. Now, why? Maybe they have a personality disorder. Maybe they are unwilling or unable, which could impact it. And so the conflict you hear about, those awful ones where the parents in revenge, anger, or hurt,
Yes.
those people are the people that come into my class. But generally,
Thank God they're doing that.
but basically, one of those parents will not often come. It's only one parent, and that's the parent that's driven to help the kids turn out okay. They just need new tools, because the mindset of the courts is you got to learn to get along. People in conflict, one of them can't.
One of them can't get along.
Because maybe personality disorder, lack of trust, anger, personality style. Maybe they have a character flaw. Maybe
Can't
they have
get
substance
past the
abuse
wounding,
issues.
or
Yeah.
they're totally focused
Yeah.
on what was done to them.
Yeah. And then they become addicted to the conflict.
Oh, there's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
That's true. They feed on the drama, right?
The drama. And when you think about it, normal emotions are, let's say we're at middle C on the piano. Those are normal emotions. But when we're in conflict, we're at a higher level of vibration. Now, let's say someone's terrified of being alone. They're being sad. They can't stand the idea of being unmarried. That's a really big thing for some people. So they keep the drama going because the dip in the emotions is so scary that they don't want to go below that scary line. So they'll keep engaged, and they'll come in with a girlfriend, they'll come in with a mom, even the mom of the other parent, they'll align. So that's, I call that the high conflict triangle. But there's so much energy in conflict, and the courts really don't know how to deal with it, because their mindset is you need to learn to get along.
Yes.
But if you can't, then you just need different strategies. And that's really what I do, is I help those people that want to end the conflict, but that they're willing and able.
That is so huge. And I have 1,000 questions I want to ask you about that.
Let's go for it.
But we have to take a break right now. But when we come back,
Sounds good.
I really want to know about, what do we do with children's guilt and their sense of responsibility, which I know happens.
All right.
All right. We'll be right back with Dr. Deena Stacer.
Good job.
Facebook Live, people. I think we're on a roll. Is there anything that, I want to go to? Okay.
Yeah, I outlined just stuff.
Yeah.
I can go for hours. So
Perfect.
if you ask me, we'll fake it.
All right. Good. All right. Here we go. Welcome back to Change It Up Radio with Paula Shaw, brought to you by Tom Palladino's Scalar Healing Energy. Scalar Energy Healing, I'm sorry. And you can get a free 15-day trial experience with this amazing Scalar Energy Healing if you go to freescalar, SCALAR.net. This scalar healing is known to kill all sorts of pathogens, to balance chakras, and to increase nutrients that the body really needs to be operating optimally. So give it a try. It's absolutely free. freescalar.net. All right, we're back with Dr. Deena Stacer, who is an expert at teaching parents how to help children effectively when they're going through a divorce, because we know that this kind of upheaval and this loss experience is extremely challenging and difficult for children. And we have just been talking about the circumstances that can exist between the husband and the wife that make it especially difficult. She was saying, if you just joined us, that when people trust each other, they can work together and co-parent, even with divorce. But when they do not trust each other, or one of them is dysfunctional in some way, it becomes extremely challenging.
That's right.
And then right in the middle of all of this are these innocent little children
That's right.
whose world just fell apart. And one of the things I know, Dr. Deena, because I have worked with some of these children in my own practice, because I'm always dealing with life transitions, right. Oftentimes they feel guilty. Why are the children guilty, and what do you do to help them?
Well, first of all, depending on the age of the children and their experience, the older children may have seen some fights or something going along, and they may encourage a parent to take the step. But kids feel like it's their fault. Why? One, they don't have the handle as an adult on what happened. I remember in particular one child I worked with, she says, my dad wants to know why my mom didn't work on the marriage. So I brought the mom in and I asked the mom, this child was 9, so did you work on the marriage? And she said, yes, I did, but it was before I decided I couldn't work with Dad anymore. And you weren't part of that. So part of it.
Can you ask this in front of the child?
Well, I did.
Yeah. No, I think it would be great for a child to be able to hear that, because one of the problems sometimes is they're getting inaccurate information from the other parent who's angry or whatever.
There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of programming. There's a lot of pain. And so there's a lot of ways that I help parents. A lot of it are scripts. The other thing that I do is I call stringing pearls with the children. So getting kids out of that mindset allows parents to focus on being engaged with them. What are the 2 fears parents have when they go through a divorce? That their kids are going to be messed up by the breakup or the other parent,
right,
or that they're going to lose their love. So I promise them, look, I will give you the skills and the strategies as long as it takes to guarantee you will not lose their love and you will not have them be messed up. Because it only takes one parent in these cases, which is a really big promise. But that's the research. It says if one parent is connected to the children in a strong, healthy bond, the children will learn to be resilient. But that parent has a lot of work to do in a high conflict situation, because they have to disengage from the conflict, they have to calm down, and then they have to use the scripts, the strategies, getting into the children's imagination. And actually, as you ask the question, they have to be able to say to their children the truth in a way that gives them empathy. That's the 8 steps of empathy. But they also have to learn what children are feeling. And the other one is children sometimes feel like if they hadn't been born, their parents wouldn't be fighting because they're fighting over money. So that's the other reason why they have guilt. There's a lot of reasons, but that's part of it.
So do I understand correctly, you're actually giving parents scripts so they have a clear understanding of what to say to the children? Oh, that must be so helpful.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of nice parents get into relationships with difficult people, and that's a whole nother story. It's called the trust line. But what happens is the parents feel like they need to learn to co-parent, and the other parent won't, so they're struggling to get them to co-parent. Instead, what I teach them to do is let's disengage, focus on the child. The courts think you're co-parenting because you're not fighting. So that's the absence of conflict is peace, right? And then step by step, here's what you can do, here's what you can say, here's how you deal with this situation, here's how you deal with that. A 14-year-old discussion is very different than a 4-year-old discussion.
Oh, absolutely.
So each one gets specific help. But helping parents get into the kid's imagination, what that does, because kids, when they go to bed at night, if they have something to look forward to with that parent, they feel like they're going to be with them forever, because kids don't get time.
Right.
So when they go to bed, if they have something to look forward to tomorrow, they think they're going to be forever with mommy or daddy. And that's a whole system that I have, but it's powerful. And parents in 1 week, when they come back from my class or they do online, they come back and they go, oh my gosh, do you know what happened? And all of a sudden they're completely shifted in their power again. Yeah.
I don't want to forget to give our audience the information. How do they find you? You do this in-person classes and online?
Yeah. I actually have probably 3 resources. The first one is in person on Tuesday nights in San Diego. I teach a parenting class called Parents in Conflict.
Okay.
And that's that long class called the High Conflict Intervention and
Right.
Co-Parenting Parallel Parenting Class. Why?
I think
it covers everything.
I think I noticed it's only $40 a
Yeah.
week. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Then I have a 50-hour online and a 12-hour, so people can just get their requirements. But I have as much as 50 hours of content at parentsinconflict.com. And then I have a YouTube station.
So that's parentsinconflict.com.
And then parentsinconflict.info is if you Google that, you'll go right to my YouTube station.
Oh, very
So you get
good.
all that stuff.
And then you have videos talking to them about what to do.
Yeah. And
parentsinconflict.info.
info. So .com are the classes, info's the YouTube. And then if they want some additional help, they're welcome to call and get some information. So
you can always go there to get information about any of my guests, because I know some of you are driving your cars and it's hard to write things down and too much to remember. Yeah. One thing that I know comes up a lot in divorce is anger for the children. They're angry. Their world just got blown up. What do you do about anger?
Well, I'm kind of a smartass sometimes.
I know that about you, and I like that about you,
So
too.
what I sometimes do is we'll have a lot of fun with that. Now, first of all, we got to figure out, why are they angry?
Yeah.
And anger a lot of times has to do with being out of control. So internally, and parents understanding that, and then coming up with whether they need to go do something physical, whether they need to have some kind of a special like timeout or whatever, like with stand play if they're little. But again, what I'll use is this whole thing about stringing pearls. And in the process, what it really is developing positive anticipation. So kids have nothing to look forward to. Neither do parents if they have one court date after the other coming up. So instead, we give them what I call Fridays at 5, something to look forward to.
Oh.
When they look forward to that, kids then are engaged in something they're going to do with that particular parent when they come to see them. And there's a whole transition event. So they have something to look forward to. They plan it in advance. Then they talk about it. Then when they come, they have step-by-step activities. For example, going camping requires a ton of work. But we don't just do it all at once. We engage the kids, give them a voice and a vote, have them an opportunity to be making responsible decisions, doing research. And the contrast between a difficult parent and the good parent, if you want to call it that, is the difficult parent often has trouble with empathy. They're
the difficult
impulsive.
parent or the difficult child?
Difficult parent.
Oh.
And this is why kids get angry, because they're caught in the middle.
Got it.
So the difficult parent has problems with empathy. A lot of times they have problems with telling the truth. They have a problem with not having a conscience. They have a problem with integrity. And they have a problem with impulsivity. So what they do is they just throw something at the child, or they program them. In the other parent's world, and generally it works pretty well, where you have one parent that's more mature and really wants to help the kids, and we help them string all these pearls, which includes them having to do some things to earn this thing. So we got responsibility, respect. We talk to them about integrity. Then we surround them with more people than just a parent, because you can't do it alone in the world.
Right.
So you find higher level people to invite into your world. I call it the Parentship Council.
Oh, that's
So it allows
beautiful.
parents to go pick the right people.
And you know what? We've got just 1 minute left, but I have to ask you, is there a way to prepare children for shared custody?
Yeah.
What do you do?
It's actually a short story about two turtles, one in the sand, one in the sun. And they're fighting because they got together and had these babies, and a wise crab comes along. And he says, oh, I have an idea. You're from both of you, so you can live in the water part-time, and you can live in the sand part-time. And so that story is a great metaphor for kids, even 14-year-olds, as silly as it is, to get, okay, this is about shared. It's more helping the parents learn how to let go.
Yeah.
They have the bigger problem.
I'll bet that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And again, Dr. Deena Stacer, how do they find you? Because I know our listeners have been as dazzled as I am with all of your wisdom and fabulous ideas. So phone number they can get you at?
800-980-0430.
And the website?
It is, excuse me, I gave my wrong number.
Oh dear, better correct that.
800-980-0434.
Okay.
All right. And then my website is parents with an S in conflict.com.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much for being with
You're
us.
welcome.
This
Thank
was gold.
Delightful.
Bless you.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back with Cheri Blair. All right. Thank you. Oh, honey. I need you on. You should be a regular segment. Was that not amazing, Facebook listeners? I mean, really, I wish I had known you when I was going through my divorce.
Well, I wish I'd known
Because,
more when I was going through mine.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
You learn.
So now you're sharing all of that good information with others.
It took me a long time to learn how to end my conflict, but even more working with all these hundreds of people, I've learned more and more concepts and principles that have really helped.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk to you some more. We need to have you
Good.
back again.
Thank you.
All right. Oops. And now Cheri's. Facebook live streamers, we'll be right back with Cheri Blair, so hang on. All right. Let me tell her that we're ready for her. Oh, that was so good. So good. Seriously, I'm going to call you later. What? Oh, my goodness. That's a great idea. Yes.
And maybe we talk about, a variety of things related to the kids.
Because this was like seamless. When I start talking about loss and ruin and you, I'm not kidding. This was like, I feel so good about this. And I mean, the truth is, I wanted to have you on because I love you. But this is amazing.
It is actually cooler in here.
Yeah.
Bring it back. I did the hi, honey. How are you? Good.
I'm
Cheri.
Deena Stacer.
Sorry, my
I
name's
kept thinking you guys know each other, but you were only at the luncheon because I was there. That was your first time, right?
Yeah.
She was the president of that group
Before.
at one point.
Yeah, before Julie was.
And she and I were also in a networking group together in the past. Yeah.
Were you there that day?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening. I could hear some. And I was like, that's great.
Yeah, nice to meet you again.
Yeah.
All right, sweetheart. We'll be
Okay,
in touch.
let's
I'll
talk.
call you
All right,
later.
thank you.
All
Bye.
right.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, so we're still on Facebook, so say hello.
Hi, Facebook fans. How are you?
They may not be able to see you yet. You have to be in your chair. Yeah, they can't hear you
that's
unless you're
true.
talking. This is Cheri Blair, live stream audience, and we're just getting ready for her segment. So give us a moment. All right.
Wow.
Thank you, Todd.
Todd's just right on in here.
Woohoo. Okay, let me see what you brought for me here. So we've been talking about divorce. So I'm
I
going
heard that.
to
Yeah, that's
make
perfect.
that
Yeah.
tie-in, and
Yeah.
then
Well,
we'll.
because this whole topic is one of the highest reasons why people get divorced. But anyway. Oh, thank you, Todd. Oh my gosh, I need to get something out of that real quick. So I just put, I thought.
What do you want me to start with?
I'm just gonna. I was gonna say, or you can, can your long-term relationship harm your
Okay.
finance? And then you say, or does it
Okay.
harm your finance? Or why does your why your long-term relationship may be harming your financial?
Yeah.
That's what I kind of do that, and then I'm gonna do this kind of stuff, and you can, I just make notes like this is, and then I say, like I'm gonna say something like this. Paula, can you imagine? Paula, you can imagine that, can't you?
Okay.
So, and you'll see,
You don't
'cause
want to
you'll
give
get-
everything away. before
Sorry,
you say it.
sorry, Facebook fans.
Okay.
Paula and I just need a moment here to catch up. So, so obviously, then I'll kind of say something like that. And, and Phil, anytime you want to jump in, like always. And then basically, I just saw this as a break. Because basically,
Okay.
I'm going to talk about financial literacy and how it can be harming in a relationship. And then, I thought there'd be a break. And I want to provide like 3 tips to help.
Okay, in the second segment.
Yeah, the second
Okay.
segment. So I have the tips written down 1, 2, and
Okay.
3, and and then that's it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I just, but I did.
Colorful.
Well, I wanted to make that. Yeah. I thought that would be a kind of good way to.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Improving financial literacy.
All right, and let
So-
me get your bio out
Let
here.
me-
Okay.
And let me. I get my. Well, and then I thought, this is a perfect time, with the topic.
Mm-hmm.
Paula, it goes so well, or breaks so well into, like, especially the end, like the next time that I'm on, next month that I'm on,
Oh,
Sarah
yeah.
and I are going to be bringing on.
Yeah, why don't you bring that book and we'll show it.
And she's
Okay.
She's a health psychologist. And then I wanted to say for anyone that would like to contact me
Mm-hmm.
for just a chat or consultation.
Oh, good. Yeah, you might have that at the ready also. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Yeah.
I guess I was so warm when I came in that it's like I'm not.
I know
feeling-
it's not as cold in here as it usually is.
Well, Todd's office wasn't. I was in there with Todd before, and that's why I didn't think it was quite as cold. Then I could
No,
feel-
well, because Todd has an office to the live stream people who are watching. I fondly call this studio Ice Station Zebra because normally they keep the studio so cold because the equipment, I have been told, is more important than we are. So I always tell my guests to be sure and wear a jacket. And Cheri brought her jacket, but today is shocked to find out that it's not as cold as usual in here. I don't know why. But anyway, thank goodness. All right. So, shall we rock this thing?
Sure, let me just.
All right. Oh. All right. I've got plenty. All right. Here we go.
All
All
right.
right, live streamers, we are getting back to the show. Thank you for hanging with us while we just regrouped. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Need Tom's info.
Is this? You think this is good? I've been watching you for so
Oh.
long. You think I should know how to do this?
Yeah. We had it like that so that you can be, but get it up there so that your mouth is at it. Okay.
It gets in my
And
way.
you
Okay.
can slide your chair a little more this way so you're, yeah. And it'll come to you. So, like I have it like this
Okay.
so that I can look at you and still be talking down and into it.
Okay.
Okay. So you don't want it behind your face. It should be, if anything, a little in front of your face. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, maybe slide your chair around a little bit. No, not that way, the other way. Okay. So just make sure it's close enough. Because you're a little, well, and you talk pretty, you project well.
Oh
so
yes, I
think
do.
you'll be
I do. I just
All
want to
right.
make sure I'll be able to see that. But I have
Okay.
my glasses anyway.
All right, and you can always overlap on mine because I'm not going to be looking at
Okay.
mine. All right, here we go.
All righty.
All right. Okay, now we're ready. And welcome back to Change It Up Radio with Paula Shaw. We are being brought to you by Tom Palladino's Scalar Energy Healing. And you can get a free 15-day trial of this amazing energy healing method by going to www.freescalar, spelled SCALAR.net. freescalar.net. And now, as promised, in studio with me, another sponsor of this show, Cheri Blair of Cheri Blair Financial Services. And let me tell you just a little bit about her before we get started chatting with her. She has been serving and empowering women, business owners, and families with financial services for over 24 years. You'd never believe it to look at her. She started when she was 6. Her journey in the business world began managing real estate portfolios and quickly evolved into an asset management position. From there, she became a commercial real estate broker, facilitating property sales across Southern California. Then she joined MetLife Financial Services in 1994, where she soon realized she had a passion for helping women. And that's one of the things we love the most about her. This passion drove her to creating and presenting empowering informational seminars and workshops to educate, support, and inspire women financially. And I know because I have been to one of those workshops, and it was amazing and great fun and an absolutely fabulous afternoon. She will be doing one of those again, and we will be sure and let you know when that's coming up. Most recently, she started her own business, Cheri Blair Financial Services. And I think the cornerstone of that and all that she does is that she believes that client relationships must be steeped in trust. And this is a lady that can be trusted. So without any further ado, Welcome, Cheri Blair.
Well, hello, Paula.
So good to have you back again.
Oh, I always love to be here with you, Paula.
So a lot of you who follow the show know that Cheri and I have been talking a lot about financial literacy in retirement. And the short story of how that began was that I found a test online called the Financial Literacy Gender Differences Assessment or something of that nature.
That's right.
And I took the test and I failed it badly. And so Cheri, who is a financial consultant, and I were talking about that. Why did I fail it so badly? And is it common that women, especially women of retirement age, are not really financially literate? They don't really know the wise ways to deal with their money. They don't really know how to make it last. That's what Cheri's all about, teaching people. So, Cheri, we were talking also about the impact of a long-term relationship on financial literacy.
Right, we were.
So let's
yes, we were.
share
Last
with
time.
our listeners a bit about that.
Right. Yes, we talked about why your long-term relationship could be harming your financial literacy.
Yeah, that's interesting. And, you know, the whole show has been discussing divorce.
I
And
know.
so,
I think that's interesting.
you know, now it's kind of funny that we're sort of saying, okay, if you don't get a divorce, you may be in trouble in another area here, your financial literacy. But we're going to learn how you can keep your marriage together and still be financially literate.
There you go. There you go. So we know that long-term relationships, Paula, come with lots of advantages.
Yes.
And it also could it also be that they may be harming you financially, your literacy?
Is that possible? It doesn't seem to make sense because you'd think you'd be more stable. Now there's two people looking at the money. And
Right.
so what's the downside?
Well, the Journal of Consumer Research points out how the uneven distribution of responsibility for financial decisions and knowledge among couples in committed relationships can be set an individual partnership in diverging paths.
Okay, so explain a little bit more about that. So is that what you're saying, that normally, like traditionally we know, the man's supposed to manage the money? That's how it was done in a lot of our parents'
And
homes.
absolutely,
Right?
our parents, and I think for myself and you, that we've talked about
Yeah.
that, and actually a lot of my clients, that is so, yeah. So yeah, we have discussed this topic before, and I think it's important to address because I believe it can harm financial literacy, as I see this with clients and people all the time, and we know it's very important for all of us to be independently and collectively financially literate.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
yeah.
you're saying, ladies, don't let your man just do it all and not be informed about what's going on.
That's
Is
right.
that right?
That's right. Absolutely. And, you know, your daughter, my son, you know, the younger generation, that, you know, they're not our age. They haven't gone through all these things.
Right.
So they need to start right now. If they haven't already, they need to start speaking about finances with their partners, making it more of an equal, you know, put some equality in that. If one, I like to say that there's a household CFO, and then there's one that's a non-household CFO. So it's the household CFO's responsibility to bring along the non-household CFO. So let me talk about this.
Yeah.
So what happens when a couple when they get together? One partner takes on the household financial responsibilities, the task, and the other focuses on other responsibilities, usually in a marriage. Isn't that right? Okay.
Right.
So as the relationship progresses, the partner who has taken on the role of what is called the household CFO that I just shared.
If we were looking at men and women, traditionally, is that the woman?
The
household CFO?
Traditionally, the household CFO would be the man if they're taking care of the financial matters.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So if they're taking care of the financial matters, that's the household. CFO's Chief Financial Officer.
Yep. I knew that part, but I wasn't sure who was the household and who was the outside.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the role of what we call the household CFO, they increase their level of financial literacy as the years go on. Think about it. So if you're handling the finances and you're reading about it, you're maybe talking to an advisor, you're watching, your money, the market, your budgeting, even if you discuss those things with your spouse or your partner, the idea that you're getting more exposure, you're becoming more informed, you're educating yourself. The financial matters become the partner that's not managing the financial matters may become stagnant.
Sure.
And even decline in financial competence.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially as we're getting older, if we're not reading something or talking about it a lot, we don't think about it. It goes away, right?
Mm-hmm. So I know that I saw this in my own family with my mother. Mm-hmm. And because my father just so naturally handled the finance, he was the businessman, he was a money man, all these things. My mother, obviously, it was just her way. She'd always done that. She gave that power to my father. Yes. And as the years go by, it wasn't that she wasn't intelligent or she didn't have the ability. Mm-hmm. It was just that he was the one that took all the control. And so the made all the financial decisions, took the control, and it just kind of left her behind.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the longer the relationship, I see it that the longer the relationship lasts, the greater the financial illiterate between the, or literacy between the partners. It grows, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
And I think what happens for a lot of women, because they already have their hands so full, even when the children grow up, you still got to keep in touch with them. You may have grandchildren you're taking care of. There's a lot of pieces. So a lot of them just go, phew, don't have to worry about that. He's handling that.
No, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. It's not like they're bad or, they don't have the intelligence or whatever.
It's an easy trap to fall into. But you're saying don't let it happen.
Don't let it happen because just because our parents or their parents or the ancestors have, and it's always been that way, doesn't mean today it's the way to be anymore. Mm-hmm. So Austin Ward, who did a study at University of Texas at Austin, not Austin Ward, Adrian Ward. I'm sorry. He says one of the most interesting findings is that, on average, at the beginning of a relationship, the two partners are about the same in terms of financial literacy. Wow. However, over time, one partner gets better and the other one doesn't, and they might actually even get worse.
That makes total sense, from the way that life just goes.
Right. Which is exactly what you were just saying. Mm-hmm. I mean, if it's easy and you're not, like I know we've talked about this on other shows of yours that, you're busy and you've been taking care of the kids all day and he's been out, out working and he comes home and you're not going to really, that's not the greatest time to sit down and talk about the finance.
For sure. And you're not going to fight him to get to write the checks and pay the bills because you're already exhausted.
Yeah.
Right? So if he'll do it, you just go, thank you, God. And you just let him do it.
Right.
But I see what you're saying. And there's this sort of erosion that starts happening to your financial knowledge because you're not involved in it. You think that that's just one job you don't have to worry about.
So why this could be a problematic is when the relationship ends, or the household CFO dies or becomes incapacitated, which will leave the non-CFO with the financial skills necessary to thrive. So, and then they can be financially financial literacy not have that, and it could be devastating for them, right?
And now they're in trouble, and I bet that's a lot of the women you see.
Right. So, let's say if you go through
let's say that we will talk about that when we come back from the break, because this is super important.
Absolutely.
And we've only got a short moment here, and I think we need a longer time to discuss those women whose husbands die or they get divorced, and now they have to figure out what to do about the finances. So Cheri Blair will be telling us what to do when we come back from this break. We'll be right back. All right, cool. I'm ready to just keep going. That was cool. Let's roll it out.
So so here we are right here.
We'll talk about that.
So we're not going to do the break. So basically we're here. We're
Yeah. So I just pick up with asking you
and
about those
then
women.
we'll go right into the tips. Okay.
Good. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Oops. Let me just grab that.
Oh, bless your heart.
And welcome back to Change It Up with Paula Shaw Radio. We are being brought to you today by Tom Palladino's Scalar Energy Healing. This is a state-of-the-art healing method using energy, and you can experience a 15-day free trial by going to freescalar.net. That's freescalar.net. And with me in studio right now is Cheri Blair, another sponsor of this show, Cheri Blair of Cheri Blair Financial Services. And if you're just joining us, we have been talking about actually the danger of a long-term relationship when it comes to financial literacy. Cheri's been explaining how sometimes when one partner sort of is taking that job of handling the family finances, the other one, their knowledge starts to wane. They are not up to speed with what's going on with the family money. And then if they lose that spouse that's been handling it, they're in a very tough place.
Right.
Whether it's death, divorce, or what might happen, now
Right.
suddenly they have to become the family CFO, and they haven't got the skills or the experiential base.
That's right.
So what do we do, Cheri?
So, what we're talking about is to catch up on several decades, maybe, in some cases, of money know-how.
Wow. That's a big job, I would imagine.
Right. I mean, 10, 20, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So after, let's say, a painful divorce or a death of a partner or loved one, as you were saying, that's not the ideal time to start your financial education.
Right. No, because now you're under fire, right? You're under the gun and you got to figure out what to do. Of course, one of the things I would tell somebody in that situation is call Cheri Blair, because you love women and you're all about helping them know what to do with their money and how to make it last. But should they not have you, what are some tips we can give them for what to do?
Well, I think it's important to, like you were saying, in getting to those tips, like, obviously, if we're grieving, that just
or in a tough emotional situation.
Yeah, that's just going to speed up this crisis that you're in.
Yeah,
and it's so if you're noticing imbalance in your relationship about money, what can you do, as you're saying? Of course, it's useful to delegate tasks and responsibilities in a relationship. We know that. We've talked about that.
So both people are involved.
Yes, but I mean, in general, not just financial, but all sorts,
Sure.
all the household,
Sharing.
the family, the task and the responsibilities. But, depending on your skills, like someone's skills or their interests or their workload, we need to, how can you make sure that both are able to make good financial decisions? Well, I have, like you said, I have some tips I want to share.
Yes, please
to
do.
all of you out there. So I have 3 tips just to take a look at this. And one is to make financial goals together.
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
Make the financial goals together.
Yes.
So, and even maybe write them down, right, to make it more concrete.
Absolutely. It's important to start as early, like I was saying, your daughters, your son, my son. It's important to start early when you're in a committed relationship.
Yeah.
It really is. It's so you can start planning your short-term, your long-term goals, and making financial decisions together. And if you start a habit of collaborating, on money decisions and matters early in your relationship, before the financial literacy gap starts to widen, and talk about these decisions and share money tasks, this will help that. This obviously will help that.
Right. So tip number 1, share the goals, create them together. What's number 2?
Well, on number 1, I just want to also say give the non-CFO some ownership over their financial path. That's very important as a couple, because it will empower you to participate as a financial decision maker.
Okay.
And it's important to both parties to do that.
Yes, and you should be sharing these decisions. Okay.
So number 2 would be bring in an extra seat at the table.
What does that mean?
Okay, so that's a couple different things. So if you're seeing a financial advisor, let's say, before, you're going to get married, but before you get married, you've already developed a relationship with an advisor or a planner, so on and so forth, and then you're making the steps to get married. Well, it's important for you to bring your partner, your spouse in to that financial advisor, okay?
Oh, I see.
So make sure that the non-CFO can come to those appointments and encourage your partner to get involved by asking questions.
Okay.
But you could even take it further. So there's financial advisors, there's consultants, like let's say if you're having, like you had a therapist on here talking about divorce. So let's say you are having some issues with money matters and so on and so forth. There are financial psychologists out there that you can go to discuss, some of these issues you're having. And it's even if it's based around finances, sometimes you find it goes into other areas and it's deeper.
Right.
But at least that will start cracking the egg open. So that's like bringing somebody else to the table. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, and remember that no question is stupid. And I'm speaking to the non-CFO of the family or the partnership. No question is stupid. So because you share your voice and you have a seat at the table, that's powerful. It's very important to gain familiarity with your financial matters, and at these meetings you can help do that. And it can help for a smooth transition if the household CFO is no longer around, right? If he's, if he or she has passed or become incapacitated, I talked about it earlier. Or even think about this: what if the financial illiterate partner needs to find their own financial advisor sometime? That means there's been a divorce or something, right?
Right.
So
That's true, and
the
that's
more
an
you know,
important
right?
thing.
Obviously. So that's number 2. Number 3, I'd say talk about money. That's the third tip. You need to have regular money conversations with your spouse, with your partner.
That's huge. And I know a lot of people do that, but only when there's an issue, a problem. And then it's an angry conversation.
Right.
So you're saying like this should be like a weekly conversation, a calm conversation about the money.
Yes. And there's many ways that one can do that, right? I really like, and I've talked about her, Kathleen Kingsbury.
Yes, show them her book.
Her latest book is Breaking Money Silence. It's all about not being silent about money or financial matters. So,
and she's going to be on our show later on in August.
Yes, she is. She's coming on the show. That's
We're
really
very excited about that.
Yes, we are excited. Yes,
but you have mentioned, in fact, you've even read me some quotes from Kathleen's book. And I love that not only does she encourage the couple to speak to each other like you were just saying, Cheri, but also parents talking to children about the family money too, which in a lot of families is verboten. That never happens.
Absolutely.
The children are not supposed to have anything to do with the family money. But I love that she says, no, this is their family. It's part of what is theirs also.
And also, they're growing up, and they need to know on their own, and they need to be modeled financial literacy, right? So for your daughter, son, my son, if they could be modeling, if they have children someday or married and have children, if they could model financial literacy in the beginning with their mate and partner to their children, imagine how different it would be. And that's, and that's what Kathleen addresses a lot in her Breaking This Money Silence. So, like I said, it's, this way you can ensure that you are on the same, both of you are on the same page.
Yes.
We talked about that. And
you don't want to assume that. You want to know that.
Right,
sure,
right. And so you have a better understanding of the broader strokes of what's going on in your financial life. So, and like I said, Kathleen Kingsbury addresses in her book, Breaking Money Silence, the very way to go about having these conversations. Like you said, if you have a conversation and all of a sudden, or, there's a lot of tension and all of a sudden, things blow up, and then you're arguing about finances, and that's no way. And then that's always, if that's kind of becomes a pattern. I know it was in my family when I grew up. I mean, I saw my parents go through this, and it's like, and we certainly don't want to model that, even if we have to our children, but, our children don't want to model to their children.
Right.
And we can change. We can change.
I love this idea that you're presenting, that from the beginning, the woman is an equal partner
Right, absolutely.
with the finances, because I think a lot of these fights you described happened when men felt their toes were being stepped on, or that somebody didn't trust the way they were handling things, and that would feel like a personal affront, rather than just somebody wanting to understand the whole thing better.
Exactly.
And if from the beginning they do it the way you've described, that's never going to happen, because it just never was his job, her job, or her job, his, whatever, everybody shared. I suggest to my clients, couples, that they sit down once a week and have a State of the Union talk. And I love the idea now of incorporating the finances in that State of the Union talk.
Absolutely.
And Jack Canfield suggests that the talk starts like this. On a 0 to 10, how would you rate our relationship this week? And then they tell you what it is. And then you ask them why, peacefully and calmly. So, Cheri, we are just about out of time. Let's tell these people how they can reach you and about your gift if they contact you.
Yes. Yes, you can reach me at 619-997-0416. That's 619-997-0416. Or you can go to Cheri Blair financialservices.com. That's Cheri, Cheri, Blair, Blair, financialservices.com. And if you'd like to have a chat or reach out to me, I'm happy to share a complimentary free book that it's all about empowering today's women. So, give me a call, get in touch with me, and we'll make sure that you're taken care of.
Thank you, Cheri, and thank you so much for all this great information you shared today. Thank you to our listeners, and remember that you can hear us here in San Diego on AM 1170 The Answer on Sunday evenings at 9 o'clock. We're on all the major podcast platforms, including iHeartRadio. And if you can't remember where to find us, just ask Alexa. And please check out our Change It Up Radio Facebook page and our Change It Up Radio Instagram page. And like us and subscribe and do all that stuff people do. All right. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you next week.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. And thank you, Facebook live stream listeners. We will be live streaming another show in about 10 minutes if you would like to stay tuned. And that show is going to be about saving the environment and also working on, wait a minute, my mind just suddenly went totally blank. Saving money and lives and the environment, good old Mother Earth, and some of the things we can do to treat her better. So please stick around or come back in 10 minutes or so. Thanks for joining us. All right, Missy, let me